Oh, it's only a sandwich. We had lunch at lunchtime. Been watching the fireworks out the back.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, God.
Oh, it's only a sandwich. We had lunch at lunchtime.
All that money gone up in smoke.
Yeah. Fireworks out the back. We're not paying none of the neighbours.
That's it. You watch others for free, don't you?
That's right. Is Bob all right, Anne?
Yes, thank you. He's just watching a bit of cricket.
Oh, is there? All right.
They're doing all the tournaments at the moment are in Dubai.
Right.
Yeah.
So we haven't got lockdown in Dubai.
No, obviously. Well, there's no audience. There's no
Oh, right.
no spectators or anything.
Mhm.
But all these T20s and everything, men and women, are all in Dubai. Mm.
Oh, well. Nice for some.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I've done my best today. We're trying to rally everybody round to get onto it. So hopefully we'll have a bit more tonight.
Good, 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 good.
Joe Williams is hopefully coming on. And, you know, Joe.
Well,
We lost him.
no, I don't think so.
Oh, right. So what me shuffling my notes about.
There you go.
Got lots of notices. Yeah. So everybody got on all right then?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So far.
So are we taking bets on how long this lockdown's going to last?
No.
We're going to the farmers market this weekend.
Yes.
On each other.
Yeah.
Oh, evening, Roger. Roger and Kath.
Hello.
Hi. They all look a bit nonplussed.
You both.
Hi, Jeff. Hi, Sylvia. Hi.
What about Kath? Yeah. Oh,
Oh.
I'll see you.
Oh, Cynthia.
Hi.
Hi, Cynthia.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi,
Is everybody keeping well?
Hello.
Hi. Everybody all right? Good. Yeah.
All staying well. Good. That's the main thing.
Yes. Well, hopefully. So I've got quite a few notices to get through as well.
All right.
Oh, Martin. Hello, Martin.
Oh, Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello.
Stay safe. Have a good evening.
Evening, Martin. Well, I'll say good evening, Martin. You are a name. Do we have a face?
Not at the minute, you don't know.
Oh, all right then.
Good evening, everybody.
Hello, Martin.
Is it? Oh, yeah.
Alexa.
He's probably
Easy
pouring
off.
another drink. Martin, are you?
You what?
Have you got a pint ready? You usually got a pint when you book.
No.
Oh, no. Well,
No.
you usually have on a Sunday, haven't you?
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's mandatory. So I guess church is closed again.
We can broadcast services.
Yeah. Right. Oh, God.
Where was the
Evening.
Hi,
Hi,
John.
John.
where was the thing that I
Hello.
John's lit up orange, Johnny Mac.
Evening, Irene.
Yeah.
Irene.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi.
Can you see us, John? Are you there?
Evening.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. Oh, there he is. There he is. All his glory. You're looking very pink, John.
Hey, remember.
Oh, evening, Bob and Sue.
this is not working, is it? Why isn't this working?
Why is it not working? Oh, well, it's technology, isn't it?
Hello,
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Steve.
Hello.
Hi. I'm going to mute.
What about you?
Oh, that's someone having it. You're not very relaxed there, Steve. I was gonna-
Oh, dear.
A bit more comfortable than the church hall.
Lying on you.
Too much, this. Too much, that, Steve.
The boys have done well, have they, Sue and Bob, this week?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, yes, they have. Yes, looks very good.
Good, good. It's had lovely days for doing it, haven't they?
Yeah, it rained earlier on in the week, didn't it?
Yeah, they had a bit of rain.
It stopped before. Yeah, it stopped early hours, didn't it? Well, early morning, didn't it? Before they started, so that was good.
Trying to get green sorted.
Oh, hello, David and Maureen.
Oh, look.
Hello.
From darkest Peterborough.
Hello. Hello, Joe.
Hello, sweetie. How are you?
We're all fine, thank you.
I've just got in the nick of time, obviously.
No, we're okay.
No, we'll give it a few minutes. Nobody's ever on time.
Come and say hello to everybody, Jan. Oh, yes, it's coming to say hello.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Hi,
Oh,
John.
hello, Janet.
Hello, John.
What's Mum?
Lovely.
Bob's lurking.
Hello, Bob.
No, Robert. No, Bob.
It's lovely.
Alan.
Hey, hello there. Alan.
Yeah, Alan and Janet. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Hi, Bob. Hi, Sue.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi, guys.
There's Johnny Matt and Mary.
What's happening on Saturday? Anything?
Well, there's no
Hello,
coffee
John.
mornings.
All right. Hello. Good evening.
Evening.
Welcome.
Yes, he's gone.
This is a big benefit of Zoom meetings.
Oh, I've just got the water.
Well, I've got my nightie on under this.
Well, have you? Evening, Carol.
Hi, Carol.
Hello, Carol.
Hi, Carol. Hi, Carol.
You might not hear us yet.
Hey, Carol.
Oh, aren't you yellow?
Oh, you are, yeah. How did you join us, Carol?
Mary of Peace.
Yeah.
Hi, Carol.
Yeah, wow.
Carol, you're very yellow.
Oh,
Don't worry. Yes, yes. Are you packed?
No,
Oh,
it's all ready.
you shouldn't be going. Shush. Yes. And you tell us all about it. Yeah.
He's having care.
care.
Going into care.
Going into care.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Carol, if you can hear us, put your thumb up.
Can't hear her again.
Picture behind it.
Anne, you've not got your thumb up.
Hey,
She's had a thumb up.
Oh, it's not on the screen.
where's Lynn? Lynn? I've just seen Lynn flash up and gone. Oh, hi, Lynn.
Top of your head, Lynn. It's on the room. You're all right.
Oh, no, we're doing
She's
well.
on mute.
Mm.
That's why. That's why we can't hear her.
She's wondering.
I know.
I don't know, as far as it's nice. It's
And
just...
Paul Williams is on mute now as well.
Oh, I've got to change my name. I don't
Yes,
look like a Ron, do I?
No.
Don't know that.
My computer, for some reason, won't work on sound.
You must. Are you muted?
No.
No, it's not that. I've got a problem with it. It's a new one,
Oh.
and I've got a problem with it. There you go. That's me now.
Hi, Lynn.
Hi. Hi. I'm just trying to mute.
Oh, did she? Oh, right. How do we do
Hi,
it?
Lynn.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
It's just flashing it.
What's Carol doing?
Now tonight we're going to see one of Joe Williams' ancestors. Oh, the pictures. So take
Oh, there's you and me. Me
Joe
and you.
Williams, see what she looks like.
Oh,
He's waving to everybody.
all right.
Ancestors.
a recce to see where we are.
No, sorry.
Who's in the chair?
Anyway, right. We all here? I don't know. Do you think we should start then?
You're going to call the meeting to order then, sir?
Yes. Order. What seat then?
Right. Can I share my screen, Paul?
Yes.
Yeah.
The old school.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, it's Cat and her husband.
Yeah, Paul, he can put all the different pictures on the back of his thing. Ah, oh, clever stuff.
Working.
Hey guys, how are you?
Thank you.
All the work is done.
Yeah, don't go anywhere. Don't move. Don't you move. Or else. Or else. Right.
Hey.
Look.
Okay.
Right. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yes, yeah.
No
Right.
coffee.
Right. I'd like to thank Paul Williams to start with for facilitating the Zoom meeting again. So that's been great. So hopefully we'll have a good night. So if you can see the notices in front of you, one of the things that we are doing for those who can't get onto Zoom or have missed the meeting, as you know, Jeff's been sending out the newsletter via email, but we've also printed newsletters for those not on email. And we've also got a few DVDs of the previous meetings as well. So
That's an
a good way
I've heard of them.
keeping in touch
Burbage quiz.
with everybody. Yeah. So item 2, Burbage Farmers Market on Saturday.
That's on as normal.
It's still on, yes, it's still on as normal. We've just got, unfortunately, of course, cows can't do a coffee morning, but the market's still there for essential sales. Right, Remembrance Sunday, 8th of November. As most of you probably know now, for national guidelines, we're not allowed to actually congregate at the War Memorial for safety reasons, but the parish councils work really hard to try and sort something out so that we can still pay the respect like we always do. I mean, you know,
Hold your logo.
there's
Who's
thousands.
talking?
Sorry.
Somebody keeps talking.
Oh, I don't know. Right, you can keep quiet, yeah. So there's thousands of us usually get there, a couple of thousand, I'd imagine. Anyway, on Sunday, we've got a service and replaying that it's all, well, most of it's already been filmed before the day. So this will discourage people from assembling at the War Memorial. And I hope you'll share the villagers tribute by viewing on the Parish Council's website. Now, this is quite simple to do. You just log on to the Parish Council website and there's a simple log on. You just have to click on the soldier logo and it should come on. And this starts at 10:40 and there'll be a short film put everything together with the service that has been filmed. Also the replaying that will be filmed very early on the morning. And I hope everybody will cooperate with this so that, you know, we can still make it a good tribute. The next meeting is Thursday, the 3rd of December. And as you know, it should have been our 20th anniversary celebration meeting. So now, because we can't all meet there, we've decided we're going to have a 21st birthday instead when we've really come of age. So that will be December next year. But we're going to have a Burbage quiz. Paul's going to arrange for people to be placed into teams to ensure a sporting chance. I've not had anything to do with it, so I've not seen the questions. Jeff and Paul are putting a quiz together, and I'm sure hopefully as many as possible will join in to make it a good social night. We've also got a few ALBs on the notices as well. The graveyard survey, which I spoke about last month, which was started by the WI in 1981. It was never indexed, so Paul and Carol's been working on it to be indexed. It will be quite a long job, but they're doing very well with it. And hopefully we can keep going with that. We've also applied for a small grant from the Lands Charity to hopefully publish a leaflet that's got all the Commonwealth war graves and the graves with military on. You know, if it's a family grave, but it mentions somebody from the military. So hopefully if we get that, we can produce a leaflet on that. But as for the programme for next year, as far as we can see, the foreseeable future, we're still going to be doing online meetings. So we've been contacting some speakers to see if any of them will do online talks. So we've really got to see how we do with that one. Another thing is a appeal for anybody who's got any contact with those who remember George Baxter, who was the headmaster, the first headmaster at Hastings. There's a guy called David Bates, and he's trying to put together a story of his life. He was quite well, he was in the RAF, he was a navigator, quite well decorated in the war. I know lots of people have got memories of him as their headmaster. But if anybody else, any pictures of him, or anybody who may have contact still with his daughter, who was last heard of living in Boston, Lincolnshire. Right, I think that's the notices. So we'll have to get on with the meeting then, haven't we? Has anybody got anything to add?
I can't hear you very well, Sylvia. I don't know if it's my computer or not, but
okay. Can everybody else?
No, I can't hear too well either.
No, nor me.
No. Right, I'll get a bit nearer. Is that any better?
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, right. Okay, right. Because I've got my notes in front of me, and then I've got the mic in front of that. Okay, right.
Yeah, it's Bob Gwynn. Can I just say thank you for the donation you've given us to the church? I'm sorry we've not been able to meet.
No.
Thank you very much. It's very kind of you, and it's very generous. So thank you.
Okay.
Well, we've got to keep supporting it because we want to go back there. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all waiting to go back.
Yeah, we are.
Sylvia,
Yes.
do we want to tell the whole meeting what Bob means?
Yes, we gave a donation because we've not been paying rent as we've not been having the meeting. So we gave a donation of £200.
Oh, that was lovely.
So are willing and help support the church. Everybody does rely on our all the various room hires.
Alexa, TV on.
We need to get on the. Right. So Burbage coastal history. You may be wondering what this set of stamps is before I start. It was a small
Big, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a small frame set of stamps that JR's lent me. Now, it's no good. I can't pronounce the name of this country, but it's one of the 7 United Arab Emirates countries. It sounds like Al Kuwait in the Persian Gulf, but apparently they produced, I don't know why, they produced this set of stamps in 1971 with British kings and queens on. But I thought it was an article anyway. You can see. Yeah, you can. Sorry. Yeah, you can actually buy these. Yeah, I've seen them on eBay. Yeah. So, yeah. Shortly after
Sylvia, can I ask everybody to mute themselves if they can, so that we don't get the
yeah, could everybody mute?
I'll do it.
Okay. Well, if you can't mute, just keep quiet. Don't breathe. All right. Shortly after the Heritage Group was formed in 2000, our late treasurer and first chairman, Peter Hall, gave me a booklet on the story of the Hinckley Postal Service. Peter had purchased the book for his father, who'd been on the administrative side at the GPO in London. The book's author, Paul Hill, had produced it for the Hinckley Stamp Collectors Society to mark the 200th anniversary of the postal service in Hinckley and District in 1988. The National Postal Service was developed from an organisation of relays set up in 1482 to carry the King's dispatches. And it was designated horsemen would carry the news at a speed of over 20 miles in relays, and a letter could travel up to 200 miles in 2 days. And these horsemen were the original post. I'm sorry, I've got to do a bit of the background, national background to the service to start with. A courier service gradually developed, and an Act of Parliament passed in 1660 became the charter of the post office, and Henry Bishop of Anfield was the first installed as master of the running messengers. But it would take another 300 years before a relatively reliable postal service would arrive at Hinckley for the common man. In the early 1700s, the post would be carried in stages by postboys on horseback or even foot, and a stage would be about 10 to 20 miles, and they expected each messenger to cover about 7 miles in summer and 5 in winter, and these were the stages that were between inns. This was seldom achieved, as the roads were, as you can imagine, were atrocious, and the mail was very insecure. Almost anyone with a pistol could overpower a postboy, and sometimes these were as young as 11 years of age. And of course, it was a time of Dick Turpin, and there was robberies by highwaymen were so frequent that the post office were advising the public to cut banknotes in half, sending only one half, and then waiting for the safe arrival before sending the other half. After about the 1750s, there was quite a few improvements were made to the roads, and coaches became more reliable. There was a system of turnpike rolls were established, and a scale of charges were introduced. And the old toll house, which used to be on the junction of Sapcut Road, Hinckley Road, on the corner where the car wash is now, that used to take some of the tolls for the turnpikes. And then also there was the Cock-In, which was the first building up where the children's nursery is now, where the milestone is on Hinckley Road. And that was a coaching in as well. So in 1784, a mail coach service was introduced that carried a regular time service for both the mail and for passengers. This revolutionised the mail service, and by 1788, Hinckley, being one of the most important staging roads, near one of the most important ones rather, opened its first post office in Hinckley. The first Hinckley postmaster was George Nichols, and he was appointed in 1788. It's unsure where the actual post office was, but an individual would go to the Bull's Head, which, some people may remember, was on the corner of the marketplace, bottom of Castle Street. And it was possible that there was a room used there for the first post office. The local example of a mail coach was the Tantivy mail coach. If you remember, it used to be at the Hinckley Island at one time. A.J. Pickering, the printer, discovered Tantivy in a scrapyard in Burton-on-Trent in the 1930s. And after restoration, he presented it to the town as a mail coach. Pickering may have been sold the coach as a mail coach, or he could have given it some, historical license. It's thought to have probably been one of the last coaches to have been made about the early 1850s, and perhaps it never even saw service as a mail coach. However, Pickering restored it as one, so it can give us an idea how one looked. It wasn't an actual Royal Mail coach, but it was one that would carry passengers and it was subcontracted to carry mail between the more remote towns. And by the 1890s, Tantivy were used to transport day trippers around the Derby, Belper and Matlock Bath area, and I'm pleased to say it's now been restored to its original black and yellow colours. Anybody receiving or sending mail from Burbage would have to visit the town, Hinckley, to use the service, and this actually continued till 1845. Now, as most schoolboys know, the penny black was the first stamp, and it came in on the 6th of May, 1840, and it was designated to be a letter of up to ½ an ounce or 14 grams could be delivered for a flat rate of 1 penny. Every letter had to be franked with a red stamping ink made up of a special composition. So this necessitated the need for more designated post offices or depots. And on the 27th of May, 1845, a messenger or a delivery or a postman was appointed for Burbage. And on the 27th of June, 1845, Edward James, a grocer, became the first appointed receiver of mail in Burbage. Stamps and later parcels were paid by the sender at the office, which were then collected and sent into Hinckley for national distribution, firstly by a mail coach, and later when the railway came to Hinckley in 1860 by train. Looking at the 1841 census, he may have lived on Church Street, about where the co-op now stands. There's no documentation until 1857 where the letter carrier's route progressed, but it started at the Cock Inn, that's the inn at the bottom of Finkley Road, came up through the village, Swallow Cottage, also this is Lutterworth Road, Burbage Lodge, then it went to Three Pots, Sketchley and Sketchley Hall, and then the Harrow Inn, which is near the Lime Kilns, and Hinckley Wharf and the Poorhouse. And then later, the circular route of the delivery, which was, imagine it was 6 days a week, was extended from the Cock Inn via Holgall, so that's at Lutterworth Road, the Old Lion Inn on Smockington, and then on to Coxton, Mickle Wigston, the Shade, Mickle Hill, that's just bypassing Sharnford and returning to Burbage. And for this, the letter carrier received a wage of 13 shillings a week. The mail was received for the post letter carrier to pick up from an inn, and these were established places from the early coaching times, and it gave the innkeeper an extra income. The keeper at the Cock Inn received an annual income of £10. In 1861, the railway and station was opened in Hinckley, giving links to Nuneaton and beyond, and then later in the 1860s the extension to Leicester. This soon provided a quick and efficient service for the mail. The Nuneaton mail carrier had been paid 11 shillings a week to bring the mail by horse to Hinckley, whereas when the trains began, the railway offered to carry the mail for £10 a year, and a railway messenger was employed for only 8 shillings a week. In 1877, a post office with a post box was established at William Garner's. This is some relation to Joe Williams, who's on tonight. Garner was a farmer who I believe lived at the depot, which is on the 1881 census, and it was somewhere situated on Workhouse Lane or near the junction of Lutterworth Road. The nearest property I can find is White House Farm, and there was a designated daily timed arrival at 7:30 and a dispatch at 6:30. But once again, this was only a supplementary income to his small farm of 37 acres. And then the first mention of a post box in Burbage was at Garner's in 1880, and the box was cleared on weekdays only. This would be a post office as we know. This wouldn't be a post office rather as we know now, but a depot for receiving and collecting mail. Stamps would be sold and franked along with parcels. However, money orders would have to be mailed in Hinckley. Before designated post boxes, mail would be collected by a bellman walking the streets ringing a bell and collecting mail, but I can find no account of one in Burbage. The first post office, Burbage Post Office, to provide a full service, was opened at the grocer's shop of John Sparrow in 1888. This was 2 Road. As you can probably recognise it, it's the travel agent now, the still there. And before that, it had been an inn. John Sparrow was appointed the sub-postmaster, and the population was rapidly increasing with hosiery and boot and shoe trades in the village. And by 1893, a John Marlowe was appointed the post office auxiliary, and he was paid 9 shillings a week. Poor John Marlowe, his salary had only increased to 13 shillings a week and 3 pence some 17 years later in 1910. He survived. He retired aged 65 in 1911 and he lived at 43 Church Street. In 1891 on the census, John Sparrow was listed as a grocer, postmaster and farmer. So once again, the sub-postmaster salary was only an additional part of his income. John's wife Martha and their daughter Dorothy also worked in the post office. And John lived with his wife and 6 children until his death in 1896, aged 61. In John's will, he left £748, 7 shillings and 6pence. So I think he did all right. By August 1891, John's widow, Martha, was appointed as postmistress with an annual salary of £16, 7 shillings. In 1901, her daughter, Elizabeth Sparrow, was appointed sub-postmistress with a salary of £21, 5 shillings. And by 1910, her salary had increased to £61, 10 shillings, which was a considerable increase, and it may have been for the remuneration for the increase in official businesses being conducted at the office. An important thing happened in 1909. The first old age pension was paid to individuals aged 70 or over. This was 5 shillings a week. A higher pension was paid to a married man of 7 6 a week. And as most working class people did not hold bank accounts, the payments were paid in cash at the local designated post office. It's not known how many were paid in Burbage, although in 1909, only 1 in 4 of the population would reach the age of 70. And 2 of those people were my great-grandparents, and it's always been a sort of great amusement in my family, as my great-grandparents decided to get married when they were in the 70s because they could get more pension. In 1925, the age was dropped to 65, and by 1940, women could claim it at the age of 60. Oh, those were the days. The practice of cash payments continued until 2005, when all pensions had to be paid into a bank account. We had quite a few post boxes around the village. The first national pillar boxes were erected in the 1850s and were painted green. By 1859, red became the regulation colour, and it was found that the wall-built or boxes attached to lampposts were more economical. The first box was at William Garner's depot on Lutterworth Road in 1880. In 1898, there was a wall box at the post office on Sparrow's shop, and the church yard wall on Hinckley Road, as you can see in the right-hand side picture. The post box is to the left of the gate. And then the 3 pots in, there was one just where the bikes parked on the thoroughfare. There was also a lamppost box on Windsor Street, but I've not been able to allocate where this was. These were empty twice daily on weekdays, commencing at 10 o'clock and 6:50 p.m. And the post office also had one collection on Saturdays. The first pillar boxes probably did not get to Burbage until the housing developments of the pre- and post-war World War II in Burbage. Examples of these can be found on Atkins Way and Bletchley Road and Brookside, Pinkley Road, all have pillar boxes. These were definitely there, I'd say, you know, because some of them are George VI, so they've got to be like late 40s, early 50s, I think. And then we've got a modern steel one that's replaced the brick one at the Three Post office.
I don't know that.
At the last count, there were 10 post boxes in the parish of Burbage. Strangely enough, there's not one at the present Burbage post office at the Star on Littlewith Road. You just have to hand your letters in there. Every box has to have a royal cipher on it from 1857. The oldest in existence in Burbage appears to be the one at the old post office on Church Street. So this has got to be a George V one from 1911 to 1935. I find it's a good way to get an idea of housing develops when development started. You can see a post box. Manufacture of the cast wall boxes ceased in the 1980s, and they're now collector's items. They go for over 1,000 or more, some of them. Most replacements are now made of steel with wider slots, and nationally, many have not been replaced since the advent of emails. In the early 1900s, Miss Sparrow would have to provide a much greater amount of post office services than her father did in the 1880s. I think this is Miss Sparrow, the lady in the doorway. A public telephone was installed. Telegrams could be sent and received. Illustrated postcards became popular in the 1890s, and in 1902, the picture covering the whole side of a card was approved, and this became a cheap form of communication at half a penny, and it was a popular way of sending short messages. And by 1905, the post office had increased its business fourfold since the turn of the century. At the outbreak of World War I in 1914, the post office nationally employed over 250,000 staff. Miss Sparrow would have sold many of the early Burbage postcards printed locally, including this one of her own shop on the left. And Pat Cox continued with this tradition up to the closing of the Church Street post office in 2014. As you can see, this postmark also got the Burbage postmark on it. At the age of 60, in 1916, Elizabeth Sparrow was retired as postmistress and later married John McNeil of Hinckley, but she was always known as Miss Sparrow, and she continued with the shop even when the post office moved up to Church Street in 1916, and she died in 1950. And then she was succeeded by Mrs. Florence Annie Kay, who was appointed postmistress at the new post office opposite the Horse School at number 47 Church Street. A wall letterbox was installed next to the steps leading to the front door. I'm sorry, this is the only picture I've got of it, is that it's the middle one. You can probably just see the post box to the right there. The first 2 years of this office were busy with the mail system of World War I, and sadly she would be the first to receive many of the telegrams notifying a family of a loved one's death. Special rates were introduced for the forces for parcels to the services along with letters, There must have been hundreds of cakes, socks and other comforts from home sent from here. Extra staff were employed, including casual ones, such as Jemima Leeson on the left, who was casually employed to deliver telegrams to the outlying villagers. A girl, Elsie Wills, would, for a small payment, take the long-distance telegrams to Jemima's house in Loon Square, which was situated where the present Spa Post Office car park is now. Jemima would then walk the rest of the journey to deliver them. Her area covered Aston Flamville, Sharnford, Mockington and Burton Hastings. Jemima would receive 9pence for this, and often on the way back she would collect sticks for the fire in her apron, as can be seen in this photograph, which was apparently secretly taken by Nurse Mayne on Lichgate Lane. Probably in the late 1920s, Miss Kay moved to the post office further up Church Street at number 69. And as I said, the post office is the post box is George V, so it's got to be before 1935. She must have been postmistress for about 50 years. As quite a few people can remember them. John McNaughton was telling me the other day she'd always got a cigarette stuck to her bottom lip. Miss Kay was post office through World War II, postmistress through World War II, once again having to receive all the sad news, including the one to her neighbour, Edward Crump at Tom Lodge, informing him of his son's death in action in 1941. In the 1950s, the population of Burbage had rapidly expanded to over 5,000 inhabitants. A post office was opened in the 1940s at the Three Pots, followed by another at Atkins Way in the mid-1950s. The post was collected 4 times a day on weekdays and deliveries twice a day. Do you remember them days? Oh. With the prosperity of post-war employment, more working class people had a spare income to save, and post office savings were originally started in the 1860s to encourage ordinary wage earners to save. These increased in popularity, and in the 1950s saw a great increase in the businesses, and some post officers earned enough to provide a good salary without relying on a supplementary shop. Mm-hmm. Women over 60, as I said, were awarded the state pension in the 1940s, which was also paid weekly at the post office. In 1945, the Family Allowances Act provided 5 shillings a week payment for each child after the first. The payment books were also issued in the mother's name, and this was also paid by cash weekly at the post office. I love this picture. There's a couple of prams outside the post office where you can imagine them all going in for the family allowance on a Monday morning. Also, TV licenses, road tax, phone and utility bills could be paid in this prosperous age. Premium bonds came in, and later foreign currency could be purchased. And notice the stamp machine on the top picture on the left. Yeah. Also, many of the local factories purchased the national insurance stamp from the post office weekly as well. Ted Thornhill became postmaster. Now, we think he became postmaster in the 50s. I'd appreciate if anybody could correct me on any of these facts. After a distinguished war service in the RAF. This is a picture of his retirement. As you can probably spot, Pat Cox was, sorry, I'll get that one. Pat Cox was on my right. Yeah, well, you can see which one Pat is anyway. On Ted's retirement in 1980, his assistant Pat became Burbage postmistress. She also saw many strangers. In the difficult times of unemployment in the 70s and the 80s, unemployment benefit could be accessed in the form of gyro payments. And as the population became more computer literate, In the 1990s, the post office services became less used. The post office developed a £1 billion system named Horizon, which was piloted out in some branches as early as 1994, as you probably heard of recently. Sadly, the software was flawed and some postmasters were accused of false accounting. Fortunately, this did not happen in Burbage. However, the first casualty was the Atkins Way Post Office, which could not sustain a living once the post office franchise was withdrawn in 2006. But fortunately, the 3 pots fought and survived. And this is the Church Street Post Office finally closed in December 14 when Pat Cox retired, and these were a couple of pictures I took on the last day. Of course, you can see John McNaughton's around old Burbage Book there, peddling it right till the last day. And she was she is a lovely woman, and very well thought of in the village. And the village had a farewell reception at the Millennium Hall for this much loved post office. Pat had given a lifetime of service to Burbage, and she still lives with her husband Alan where the former post office was. I do remember her saying in a farewell speech, she asked for the customers to be patient with the new staff in these difficult times, especially as they were taking over at the busiest period at the post office at the Spa in its run up to Christmas. She was a great charity worker, and over many years she produced postcards with all the proceeds going to children's charities. And of course, do you remember she was famous for her trifle? So, the post office in Burbage has now come full circle, by now being part of a grocery store and only a few yards up from the first post office on Lutterworth. Yeah. That's it. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
It's a clap. Right. You can all unmute now.
Why not?
Any questions?
I'd forgot the stamps in the wall, Sylvia.
I know. Well,
I remember it now. Yeah, I remember getting them out the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Mrs. Kay, she always had bright red lipstick on.
Did she have a fag in it? Do you remember the cigarette?
No.
I can't remember the fag, but I can remember how it worked.
Yeah. I'm not that up on when Ted retired and that. I'll have to go and speak to Pat sometime. I don't just like going around and banging on the door. But it was. I've just really put it together from what we've got. I think the thing I tried looking for a lot of the buildings rather now they've all been pebble dashed, so you can't see where the post box was at number 49 and 47 rather. You can't see where the stamp machine was at number 69. But I'm beginning to be a bit of a nerd when I go anywhere now. I'm looking at post boxes. But I've spotted some Victoria ones down south, but I've not seen any around here.
Right. You taught me a couple of things tonight. I didn't know that William Garner, i.e. one of my great whatever's grandfathers, was in the post business, but I didn't know that he lived at the depot. And it sort of makes sense to have a name like the depot if it's actually connected to something like that. But the other really interesting thing is that my great-great-grandmother was Mary Marlowe. And I just wonder if they kept postage in the family. I had to check up on that.
Well, they probably sent love letters. Yeah. Oh,
thank you.
Great. Thanks. Yeah. We've tried to sort of pin down where this depot was, but you know what it's like when you're trying to go around on the census. It's quite difficult to decide where it was. There wasn't that many buildings on Workhouse Lane.
No.
But as I say, the nearest one was Whitehouse Farm, but whether it was there.
It's interesting though. Yeah.
Right,
thank you.
Right, thank you. Anybody else?
Well, on the penny black stamp that you showed, on the bottom two corners, on one side there was an M, and on the other side at the bottom was an H. Does anybody know what the M and the H meant?
No, but it wasn't always just those two letters. There were different letters on the penny blacks and the penny blues as well.
Oh, right.
Different letters. I'm not quite sure what they stood for, but I've got one or two of them. I'll try and find out.
Yeah, we'll Google it. Yeah.
Can I just say, Sylvia?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're just going to see my name. You're not going to see me or Dad.
All right.
But we've sat and listened tonight, mainly because for whatever peculiar reason, last night we sat talking about the post office in Burbage.
Wow. Yeah.
And Dad goes back as far as remembering Miss Sparrow.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
and the one thing that two or three of you have mentioned about Annie Kay's cigarette, Dad has often told the story that the cigarette ash could almost be as long as the cigarette. Somehow she'd got the cigarette in her mouth and the ash was still all intact on the end of it. You know how most people would tap it off? I've often heard Dad tell the story of the cigarette ash on the end of a cigarette.
Wow.
And she used to be, I think, I'm going to have to talk to him so you can hear me talking to him at the same time because he can't hear you now.
Right.
Did she not work the telephone exchange as well? She also worked the telephone exchange from the post office.
Oh, good. Yeah, didn't know that. Because wasn't there a telephone exchange down Lickett Lane?
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Telephone exchange was in Lickett Lane for starters.
Right, later on. Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah.
The telephone exchange moved from the post office to the Lickett.
All right. Yeah. And then of course that was demolished. That was demolished when they built Woodstock, Delabere.
Yeah.
Because that's where the it was there, wasn't it? Where the entrance is.
I know this is not post office, but it is because, of course, they did operate the telephones for a while.
Service, yeah.
Our first phone number was 257.
Wow. Yeah.
Sorry, 57, he just told me. Then it went to 257.
Yeah.
But then when they put the 3 in front, that's when they moved it out of the post office because the exchange wasn't big enough.
That's really interesting. Thanks, Mark. Lovely.
I remember the cigarette ash now, Martin. You brought it all back.
Okay, there you are.
Yeah, I remember it.
Yeah.
There's probably quite a few things franked with cigarette ash if anybody's still got. It's not got the same appeal, these liquid cigarette things, have they?
No.
But also, I always remember the counter. Do you remember the counter on Church Street? I mean, where Pat's counter. I mean, that was an old one. I don't think it was. And the scrubbed wood floor.
Yeah.
It was like time forgotten, isn't it?
I remember once going into the post office with Ian, my son, when he'd perhaps be about 4 years old, 4 or 5, with his football. And of course, he was being a lad with his football. He was kicking his ball against the counter wall. And Pat, without looking up, saying, "I presume your mother's going to come and paint this for me."
Can't imagine Pat being like that.
Well, I mean, I can understand, because obviously footballs are not clean, are they? No.
Do you remember
he was quickly reprimanded and the football taken away.
Do you remember the collecting box? Was it a dog?
Oh yeah, in the doorway.
For the blind.
Oh, was it for the blind? I didn't know whether
it was the blind. She had a big white dog.
I don't know whether it was the Blind or the Spastic Society or.
I think it was the blind.
I think it was the blind, yeah.
I remember there was something in the corner that was there for you.
My grandchildren used to say, "Give me some money to put in."
Oh, right, yeah.
I can share a story about the Thornhills.
All right.
When I was probably about 13, 14, my friend was Peter Bent, and Margaret Bent was very friendly with the Thornhills. and so I can't remember the nature of the discussion, but they would talk about Ted and Connie all the time. And I was walking up Church Street one day, and Connie Thornhill stopped me, and she said, "Can I have a word?" She said, "I was speaking to your grandfather the other day, and he told me that you referred to Mr. Thornhill as Ted." And
oh dear.
It's most inappropriate. You should be referring to him as Mr. Thornhill.
That was you told.
And I just think, can you imagine a 13-year-old today?
Yeah. Get a mouthful back.
Yeah, it wouldn't.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
They were a lovely couple, though. They lived just up the road from us on Sunny Hill, on the left-hand side, about next door to where Betty Main.
Oh, in later years, Ted and Connie would join us when we had barbecues and be sort of imbibing. So it was just a, an age thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he had quite a distinguished war service, didn't he?
That's working.
Oh, David, at long last.
Oh, David.
We can see you this time, David. We can see you now. We haven't been able to see you on the other meetings.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, I'm here.
No.
Not that David
The other one.
Wood.
The other David Wood.
Yeah.
I've lost the speakers. I can't hear you very loud.
Oh dear. Sorry.
Where's Jean?
I'm here.
Oh, good.
Oh. She's under the desk. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. So, have we got anything else to mention tonight, or are we all?
I didn't know that was the first post office where the travel agents is. When I was a girl, it was Jack Lord's the Butchers. You probably know that, but I never knew that, so I've learnt that tonight.
Well, I suppose that was the first official post. Yeah, to say we got Garner's, who was down the lane somewhere before that. But yeah, there was and I was quite. I mean, she must have lived to be really quite old, Miss Barrow. Say she suddenly got married when she was in her 60s. I'd retired and got married. Perhaps she married for the pension as well. You never know.
Oh, who knows?
It wouldn't be family allowance, would it?
Yeah.
Sorry?
You've not mentioned anything about the ghosts at Miss Sparrow's?
No, I could if you want. Yeah, there's
Nothing to do with the postal services.
No, well, I don't know. Yeah, there was this. Apparently, Miss Sparrow was quite a small lady. Her name suited her apparently, and in the travel agents, I don't know how often it's happened, but they always mop the laminated floor out at night and shut up the shop blast off as they're going out to leave it to dry. And then went in the next morning and there were footprints. Little tiny footprints to the back, all along, quite dirty, tiny footprints. The people who live next door, they've had seen a lady around once or twice, but we don't know whether it's Miss Sparrow or not. But I'd imagine it's a very old building.
Yeah.
It was an inn, wasn't it? Was it the Boot Inn, John Mack? Was it the Boot? The old post office? Barrows? I think it was the Boot Inn. Yeah, before that. We've got a picture of it when it was an inn. It's quite a big house, really. Quite rambling, if you remember. Did any of you go on the ghost walk that I did? They took us all upstairs.
No.
In the tiny, all these tiny rooms upstairs where the shop is. It's up for sale again.
Yeah.
Perhaps nobody wants to buy it. We better not stop talking about ghosts, aren't we? If we don't.
X on it.
Yeah. Right.
I think that's it.
Is that
Well,
it?
thanks, Sylvia.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Another nice evening.
Yeah, well, passes an hour, doesn't it, on these dark nights? Just everybody keep well.
Got lots more to come.
Yes.
Yeah, and so hopefully the next
Hopefully
meeting,
see you next month.
Yeah, hopefully, yes, we'll have this quiz night and see how we do with that. See what else we can entertain you with. Right.
Well, Sylvia, thank you so much, because the amount of research you did is quite phenomenal. It was the graphics and everything supporting it. Really, really interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, well, the technical man's behind, of course. Credit is due, and then of course,
I do.
And Paul for actually just putting it all together, facilitating us all to be able to do
Yeah.
It's great.
But thanks anyway. Gillian and Anne as well. Gillian and Anne aren't here because they're not on Zoom. And they only did it through me, but because there's a lockdown, they can't come in. So
I've put their apologies. I've put their apologies down.
Yeah, but they'll still get the newsletters anyway. And
yeah.
Okay then.
Somebody else joining or leaving.
Leaving possibly.
It's Sue and Bob. They're obviously having connection problems, I think.
It's Sue and Bob was it thinking about? Oh,
he's looking for.
I didn't want to make sure I hadn't missed anybody.
Right. Well, good night then.
Well, good night, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Super, thank you.
Before everybody goes, before everybody goes, I hope you're all able to join for the quiz, which I hope will be enjoyable because you'll be in teams, so it's not an individual quiz, and you'll be able to have a bit of banter. So I suggest you all bring a glass of wine.
The mince pie.
And the mince pie.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, be lovely.
Right. We'll do that. Probably mulled wine. It's getting near Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Mince pies.
Oh, yeah.
Mince pie sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Lovely to see you, Joe. Bye-bye.
Lovely to see you too, Anne. Yeah. Cheers.
Oh, did you manage to get any information
Yes,
out of William?
he was absolutely super. He's given us a great quote, and what a nice guy. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad that's what.
Yes, thank you for that.
Oh, you're very welcome. Yeah.
Well, that's Crabtree, isn't it? Yeah. Anne,
Yes,
before you go,
I am here.
a little bird tells me you're thinking of doing another survey of the churchyard.
Well, that was what Sylvia was referring to earlier.
I wasn't able to hear that. Dad had got the